strangers. Tonight it created war. Helen Mirren sat at one end of the sofa, 80 years old, Dame of the British Empire. Meghan Markle sat at the other end. The woman who'd married into that institution, left it, and spent 5 years telling the world how terrible it was. The collision was inevitable from the first moment. It started with a comment, just a small observation Helen made about duty, about what she'd learned playing Elizabeth II, about the weight of service that most people couldn't understand. Meghan's response made the studio audience shift in their seats. And what happened in the final 6 minutes? What Helen asked, what Meghan couldn't answer, what the audience witnessed in stunned silence, would become one of the most discussed moments in British television history. This is the interview that revealed everything. Subscribe now, hit that notification bell, and let's see what happened. The Graham Norton Show studio had its usual Friday night energy. The famous red sofa arranged for tonight's guests, the audience clutching drinks, the atmosphere of Britain's most beloved chat show. Tonight's booking had generated unusual anticipation. Dame Helen Mirren, promoting the BBC's Queen Elizabeth Centenary documentary, alongside Meghan Markle, Duchess of Sussex, discussing her advocacy work. 2 other guests, a comedian and a musician, would fade into the background of what was about to unfold. Helen arrived first, warm, elegant, immediately charming everyone in the room. She settled onto the red sofa with the ease of someone who'd been doing this for decades, who'd earned her place through 50 years of work. Then Meghan arrived, controlled, camera-ready, settling at the opposite end of the sofa with careful attention to angles and lighting. "Welcome, everyone," Graham announced. "This is going to be quite a show." He had no idea how right he was. "Helen," Graham began, "the BBC documentary about Queen Elizabeth's centenary. You're featured prominently. What drew you back to discussing her?" Helen's smile was genuine. She would have been 100 this year. 100 years of service, or at least 70 years of it as queen. That's extraordinary. That's a life devoted entirely to others. I wanted to honor that. You played her so beautifully in The Queen. What did you learn about her through that process? I learned that duty isn't a burden for some people. It's an identity. She woke up every morning knowing her life wasn't her own, that her preferences, her desires, her personal feelings came second to the role. Most people can't imagine that level of sacrifice. Meghan shifted on the sofa. Not everyone experiences the institution as sacrifice. Some experience it as cage. Helen turned to look at her. Do they? I spent years studying that institution, reading about it, understanding its weight. What I found was complexity, not cruelty. You studied it from outside. I lived it from inside. For 3 years, I studied it for decades. Respectfully, observation and participation offer different perspectives, but duration provides depth. Graham laughed nervously. Well, we've got both perspectives right here on the sofa. We do, Helen said, her voice pleasant but firm. And I'm curious about something. The institution you describe as cage, Helen continued, is the same one that gave you a global platform, the same one that elevated you from actress to duchess, the same one whose name you still carry. How do you reconcile criticizing something while benefiting from it? Meghan's expression cooled. I earned my place through my marriage. Your marriage to a prince, which made you part of the institution you now criticize. The title you hold, Duchess of Sussex, was granted by that institution. The recognition that allows you to sit on this sofa tonight came from that institution. I've built my own platform since leaving. Have you? The Netflix deal came because you were a duchess. The book deal came because you were a duchess. The speaking engagements come because you were a duchess. Strip away the royal connection and what remains? Graham attempted to intervene. Perhaps we could talk about... No, Helen said quietly. I'd like an answer. What have you built that doesn't depend on royal association? Silence stretched uncomfortably. I've spent my career earning recognition, Helen continued. 50 years, hundreds of roles. Every award, every accolade came through work. The damehood came after decades of contribution. What have you earned that didn't flow from marriage?
Meghan's face had gone red.
I was successful before Harry. You were a working actress, respectable, but not globally famous, not sitting on talk shows discussing global issues. That came after. Be honest about the sequence. I've done meaningful work since Archwell, which produces what exactly? I've looked. Beautiful website, inspiring language. When I search for outcomes, lives changed, policies influenced, measurable impact, I find nothing. Graham tried again. Helen, perhaps. I've worked with charities for decades, real ones, with real outcomes, schools built, people helped by name. The foundation she runs, what has it actually accomplished? Meghan stood up partially. I won't be interrogated by an actress who won an Oscar playing the grandmother you now criticize constantly. An actress who studied your family history more thoroughly than you apparently lived it. An actress who earned her title through work, not marriage. The wedding, Helen said, her voice carrying something sharper now. Peter Phillips, last weekend, your husband's cousin. You weren't there. The reports say you weren't invited, that the family specifically excluded you to avoid, what was the phrase? A PR circus. How does it feel to be characterized as a circus? Tabloid nonsense. Multiple sources, confirmed reports. The family didn't want you there. Not the media, the family. Your own family by marriage. What does that tell you? It tells me the institution remains hostile. Or it tells you that your behavior has consequences, that publishing intimate family details for profit damages relationships, that doing Netflix documentaries criticizing your in-laws might affect your welcome at family events. Graham was gripping his cards now. Ladies, maybe we should— I'd like to know something, Helen said, ignoring him. When you married Harry, what did you think would happen? That the institution would reform to suit you? That centuries of protocol would bend to your preferences? That a family you just joined would immediately prioritize your comfort? I expected basic decency. You received a wedding that cost £32 million. You received global recognition. You received a title, a home, staff, protection. What basic decency was denied? The treatment from the press, Meghan started. The press treats everyone badly. They treated Diana badly. They treated Camilla badly. They treated Kate badly, for years. The treatment wasn't unique to you. What was unique was your response. My response was honest. Your response was profitable. The Oprah interview wasn't free. The Netflix deal wasn't charity. The book earned millions. You've monetized your grievances more successfully than anyone in royal history. That's not honesty. That's commerce. Meghan moved as if to leave, then stopped. You don't understand what I experienced. I understand what you've shown. Interview after interview about your suffering. Documentary after documentary about your pain. A book detailing private family conversations. What you've shown is someone who profits from conflict while claiming to want peace. I want peace. Do you? Because peace would require silence. Peace would require not doing interviews. Peace would require letting wounds heal privately. Instead, every few months, another revelation, another accusation, another monetized grievance. Graham cleared his throat. Perhaps the other guests would like to— Nobody moved. Nobody wanted to miss this. Let me ask you something directly, Helen said, leaning forward. And I'd like an honest answer. Do you believe you're wanted anywhere? By the royal family? By the British public? By the American establishment that hasn't embraced you either? Meghan's composure cracked visibly. I'm wanted by millions. Millions who consume your content. That's not the same as being wanted. That's being watched. Being wanted means being invited, being included, being missed when absent. Who misses you? Who invites you? Who wants you present rather than performing? My husband. Your husband who reportedly wants to return to England while you don't? Your husband who misses his family while you've helped separate him from them? Your husband who's increasingly seen attending events without you? Is he evidence of being wanted? or evidence of partnership strain. Meghan grabbed her purse.
I won't sit here and be attacked by someone who played my husband's grandmother in a movie and thinks that gives her authority.
Helen smiled, a sad, knowing smile. I played her because I studied her, because I respected her enough to understand her, because I saw what service actually looks like. What I see in you is the opposite. Not service, self-promotion. Not sacrifice, strategy. Not belonging, performing. You never understood what you married into, and now you criticize what you never grasped. Meghan moved toward the exit. This is outrageous. You've joined everyone who wants to tear me down. Helen remained seated, completely calm. I've joined observation. What I observe is someone who entered an institution without understanding it, left that institution while profiting from it, and spends her time criticizing that institution while still using its name and recognition. That's not victim, that's opportunist. I've sacrificed, what, a palace for a Montecito mansion? Servants for different servants? Public recognition for continued public recognition? Your sacrifice looks remarkably like lateral movement with improved weather. Graham had given up trying to intervene. The other guests sat frozen. You'll regret this, Meghan said. I'll regret honesty? At 80 years old, after 50 years of earned respect? I don't think so. What I'd regret is watching someone diminish the institution I came to respect through study, watching someone claim victimhood from a position of extraordinary privilege and saying nothing. That I'd regret. Meghan paused at the edge of the stage. You don't know me. I know what you've shown. And what you've shown is someone who wanted the crown without the weight, the title without the duty, the platform without the service. Someone who took what the institution offered and gave nothing but criticism in return. I know enough. Meghan left. The studio door closed behind her. The red sofa sat in stunned silence. Graham looked at Helen, then at his remaining guests, then at the audience. Well, that just happened. Helen straightened her sleeve with theatrical calm. I apologize for the disruption. I didn't intend to dominate the conversation. You didn't dominate. You clarified. Graham managed a weak smile, though I'm not sure that's ever happened on this sofa before. She needed to hear it. Not for my benefit, for hers, though I suspect she won't process any of it. The comedian finally spoke. That was... I've got nothing. I've got no jokes that follow that. Helen laughed, genuine, warm. Comedy after confrontation is difficult. Perhaps we could discuss something lighter? Graham nodded, visibly relieved. Yes, please, something lighter. Anything lighter. But the audience was still buzzing. They'd witnessed something unprecedented, something real, something that would be discussed for weeks. Before we move on, Helen said, I want to say one thing to the audience, because this matters. She looked directly at the camera. I was raised anti-monarchist. My parents would have been horrified that I played the Queen. But through studying Elizabeth II, through really trying to understand her, I came to respect something I'd dismissed. The weight of duty, the sacrifice of self, the quiet endurance of a woman who gave her entire life to service. She paused. What I witnessed tonight was the opposite. Someone who received enormous gifts from that institution, recognition, platform, global fame, and has spent years complaining about how those gifts were wrapped. That's not courage, that's ingratitude, and someone needed to say it. Graham nodded slowly. You've said it, quite clearly. I hope she heard it, though I suspect she didn't. People rarely hear what challenges their self-image. The musician spoke quietly. My grandmother watched the Queen on television every Christmas. She'd be glad someone defended her. Many grandmothers would be. That's who I was thinking of. The people who loved the Queen, who saw in her something worth admiring, who watch her family get attacked and feel helpless to respond. I responded for them. The footage aired that night. BBC made no edits. The clips that spread captured the red sofa confrontation. Strip away the royal connection and what remains? An actress who earned her title through work, not marriage. Your behavior has consequences. Publishing intimate family details for profit damages relationships. You've monetized your grievances more successfully than anyone in royal history. Do you believe you're wanted anywhere? Your sacrifice looks remarkably like lateral movement with improved weather. Someone who took what the institution offered and gave nothing but criticism in return. Meghan's team released a statement calling the appearance a coordinated ambush by someone with obvious institutional loyalties, designed to humiliate rather than engage. Helen responded through her representatives. Coordinated? I spoke spontaneously, from decades of study and observation. The ambush she describes is simply someone who's earned the right to speak about the monarchy through years of respectful engagement, asking questions of someone who's earned nothing but profit from complaint. She added, I've played the Queen. I've met the Queen. I've studied the Queen. When someone attacks that legacy while benefiting from it, I notice. And at 80 years old, I have nothing to lose by noticing out loud. For Helen Mirren, the confrontation became an unexpected coda to her royal portrayals, proof that decades of studying Elizabeth II had given her not just artistic insight, but moral authority to defend her legacy. For Meghan Markle, it was devastating in a particular way. Helen wasn't tabloid media, she wasn't royal staff, she was Britain's most respected actress, an Oscar winner, someone who'd earned global admiration through work. Being challenged by Helen Mirren, and being unable to answer, exposed something no media strategy could address. But for the millions who watched, something else emerged. The contrast between Helen, 80 years of earned respect, titles given for achievement, authority derived from study and work, and Meghan's inability to name a single accomplishment independent of her royal connection, told its own story. Helen had asked what Meghan had built. Meghan couldn't answer. Helen had asked if Meghan was wanted anywhere. Meghan couldn't respond. Helen had asked what sacrifice looked like. Meghan provided nothing. And in that absence, in that devastating silence where earned achievement should have been, everything anyone needed to know about the difference between genuine contribution and strategic self-promotion became impossible to ignore. Some people earn their place over decades. Others marry into position and complain about the wedding gifts. Helen earned everything. Meghan claimed grievance. The difference was visible to everyone watching. An Oscar winner, a dame of the British Empire, decades of studying the Queen, and she asked one simple question. What have you earned that didn't come from marriage? The silence said everything. If you want more content that recognizes the difference between earning respect and demanding it, subscribe, turn on notifications, drop a like. More truth, more legacy, more of what 50 years of genuine achievement actually sounds like. Stay with us.